The Fight Against Climate Disinformation. Green Edge. By Jeff Cranston. Menzies for Climate.
In this age of the internet, social media, and generative AI, we have access to online information galore. Yet it is harder to get to the truth than ever. What is presented as fact may not be true at all, or not the whole truth. All too often, we're exposed to spin, propaganda, deception, and lies. Another challenge is the increase in misinformation and disinformation. But what is it? Misinformation is false information that a person shares without any intent to mislead or deceive, while disinformation is false information that a person spreads with the intention of misleading or deceiving others. So we always have to guard against being misled, including on issues relating to climate change and renewable energy. In March this year, 2 reports were published that highlighted the major problems of misinformation and disinformation about these issues. The first report was from the Australian Security Leaders Climate Group and written by Anastasia Capataz, entitled The Climate Disinformation War: How to Fight Back for Australia's Democracy and Security. Following this was the major report from the Senate's Select Committee on Information Integrity on Climate Change and Energy, entitled The Integrity Gap: Restoring Trust in the Climate and Energy Debate. Both reports make significant recommendations about how the government should address the problem.
The ASLCG Report.
This report pulls no punches in describing the challenge we're facing. Power in this digitally networked age comes from dominance in the information space, and Australians are now living in a world increasingly shaped by propaganda and disinformation rather than factual information, the report says. It then states, anti-climate action propaganda and disinformation networks have grown into multi-billion-dollar permanent campaigns largely funded by fossil fuel interests and their allies. These campaigns may be best understood through a lens of information warfare, combining traditional media influence, coordinated online activity, and algorithmic amplification to shape narratives and perceptions at scale. The report also highlights the national security implications of climate disinformation, as it is evolving from a communications issue into a national security challenge, with implications for Australia's sovereignty, economic resilience, disaster readiness, institutional trust, and strategic autonomy in shaping its energy transition amid intensifying geopolitical competition.
The Senate Majority Report.
The majority of senators, Wish Wilson, Anadiraja, Darmanin, McLaughlin, and Pocock, found that the integrity of our information ecosystem is threatened by a proliferation of mis- or disinformation, which is polarizing public discourse and eroding trust in science and knowledge institutions. The report's other findings include the following. False and misleading information about climate change or the environment was one of the top misinformation topics encountered by Australians, with disinformation levels trending to spike around extreme weather events. Climate mis- or disinformation was confusing public understanding of climate science, reducing support for action on climate change, and delaying renewable energy projects, with the associated economic opportunity costs, particularly for regional areas. Deteriorating information integrity was having significant local impact on communities and individuals, with mis- or disinformation campaigns related to renewable energy projects inflaming tensions and fueling conflict.
The government's position.
In early May this year, Menzies for Climate submitted written questions for Assistant Minister for Climate Change and Energy, Josh Wilson, after a meeting with the Minister for Menzies MP, Gabriel Ng. One question was whether the government was considering the report's recommendations. In response, the minister stated that the Albanese government had
serious concerns about the extent of the misinformation and disinformation about climate and energy,
and was seeking to combat this by providing the public with authoritative and evidence-based climate and energy information and through community engagement activities. He said that the Senate Majority Report was
being actively considered by government,
and a
formal response will be tabled by the government in due course.
He did not mention the ASLCG report.
Practical steps.
Menzies for Climate endorses the various practical tips provided by the Australian Communications and Media Authority for dealing with online misinformation and disinformation at acma.gov.au/online-disinformation-and-misinformation. Menzies for Climate also urges readers to be highly vigilant against accepting any information they read that could be designed to mislead them about climate-related issues.
Jeff Cranston is a member for Menzies for Climate. Menzies for Climate advocates, educates and informs to work towards a future that is greener and healthier for our natural environment and for upcoming generations of people and wildlife that inhabit the world. The views expressed in this column are those of the writer and may not reflect the position of the editorial team. This story was read by Rebecca Rose and James Poyner.